Hello everyone, how are you guys all doing today? My name is Mirko and welcome back to another Apex Legends video. So in today's video, we're going to be speaking about how to maintain control during a gunfight and how to always be sure that you're fighting on your terms and not the enemy's terms. Now as always, be sure you're liking the video and also commenting if you want to be featured in my next Apex video. In today's video we have Lil Beans who says notification squad, thanks for having that bell turned on there, really appreciate it. So anyway, onwards and forwards to the video. So being able to maintain control during a gunfight depends on a lot of things like position, and also it depends on your decision making as well. So in this video we're going to speak about positional tips and also decision making, when you should push the opponent and when the right time is to take that choice and decide I'm going to actually push the opponent, or maybe I'm going to stay back and let the opponent come to me. So let's start with your position, because that's the main part which is going to determine whether you have control or whether the enemy has control during that gunfight, and your surroundings are going to be a crucial part to help you position up properly and maintain control, whether it be the height advantage or having different types of cover. In this instance we're going to speak about an even playing field, so you're both on the same level of height, and about 80% of your gunfights happen when you and the enemy are both on the ground and it's basically an even playing field. There's no sort of height advantage and you basically need to use a cover to your advantage. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video example on how I maintained control and positioned myself correctly. I used the cover to my advantage and my decision making helped me actually win the gunfight. So as we can see here, I'm using Pathfinder's zipline and I see an enemy basically right in front of me. So I decided to take a few shots because the enemy isn't looking at me and I know I can deal quite a bit of damage before the enemy actually realises where he's being shot from and reacts. But this is where it gets interesting, because the enemy actually manages to get to cover in time and I'm still in an open space area with no cover. So in this situation, the enemy actually has the advantage against me. So what I do is, whilst I'm reloading, I then decide to run straight to cover. It doesn't matter if I deal a little bit of damage on the way, I know that I'm going to cover and I'm then decreasing the chances of the enemy having that upper hand. Remember how I said earlier, only fight on your terms? Well, if I wasn't going to get to cover and I was still fighting in an open space area, that wasn't me fighting on my terms, I was fighting on the enemy's terms, because the enemy's gone to cover, so the enemy then chooses when to engage in the gunfight, not me. This is a really good example of using your surroundings to your advantage, and you never want to fight in an open space area with no cover when the enemy does have cover, because then the enemy can decide when to come out and pick a few shots and you can't do anything about that. You're just in an open space area and you're very vulnerable. So even if you do take a bit of damage whilst running to cover, it's still worth it, and I would happily trade 50 damage to then be in cover and close the gap on who has the advantage. So once I have found cover, I know that's the easy part done. So what I do is I peek over to my right, I can see an enemy, I start shooting, but notice how I'm very close to the left side of my cover. So if I do feel like I'm dealing quite a bit more damage than expected, all I have to do is strafe over to the left to avoid bullet damage and get into cover within literally half a second, if that. But once I got the down, I then went back into cover yet again, and I basically knew that after downing the enemy, I left his teammate no choice but to push me, because he can't go in for the revive knowing I'm there, because I would have easily got the kill then, and he had no choice but to push me. That's the only thing he could have done in that situation. So there's no need for me to go out and push the last player. I'm going to wait for him to come and push me, because I know that's the only thing he can do, and once he gets close enough, I then come out of cover and surprise him. He doesn't expect it at all. As you can see, he misses the first few shots. I do miss a few shots as well, and notice how he tries to escape knowing that I have the advantage against him. I then kill him when he's in an open space area where he has no cover at all. I know that I've dealt enough damage, so I'm confident to actually push him and follow him and then get the easy kill with the shotgun. And this is another thing that you guys need to understand. Once you've dealt enough damage into the enemy and you know they haven't got teammates there to back them up, you can easily go in for the push and get an easy kill. As long as you feel like you've dealt enough damage, that is the green light to go. So the main part I want you guys to take away from that example was the beginning part, where I was in an open space area and the enemy actually had the cover. I then actually ran to cover to make it, you know, more of an equal playing field, and I've done everything in my power to not give them the advantage during the gunfight by maintaining cover and also positioning myself around the cover to not let them have the upper hand. So if we take a look at another video example, we're in the late stages of the game and I know there's only one enemy left in the game, so I deal quite a bit of damage into him, and as you can see, I think I've done like 150 damage or something. something. So I then know that the enemy is going to go and heal up, and that is my chance to close the gap by pushing further forward. In this situation, you only want to push forward when you know the enemy is healing up or they fully retreated from the gunfight like the enemy has done, because they have the height advantage against you, and if you're pushing forward whilst they're still on the roof or whether they're on a mountain, if they have any sort of height advantage, they can easily kill you. So a great way to push enemies that have a height advantage is just to deal damage into them, enough damage to the point where they retreat and they heal up, and then crucial seconds that they're going to heal up, that's your chance to push forward. And you don't want to push forward all the way necessarily. If you're in quite an open space area and quite a far distance, you maybe want to push to the next closest form of cover, whether it be a rock, you know, a building, and then just repeat the same thing until you get close enough to the point where you feel confident in your gun skill. As long as you've got cover and you're dealing damage into the enemy, them two things are going to keep you in control of the gunfight, because landing a few shots into the enemy is going to stop them from wanting to push you, and also maintaining that cover whilst shooting is going to give you that backup in case you deal quite a bit more damage than expected. Now I can see the enemy in the building, and as you guys can see, they don't really have any cover and I do. So I've got full control of the gunfight here and I'm very confident. Also notice how I don't go into the actual building, I stay outside because I like to use this doorway as a cover in case I'm dealing enough damage to the point where I want to retreat. So after the enemy has landed a few shots onto me, I then strafe over to the left and I take cover immediately because I don't want to risk it, and I know I can kill the enemy if I play smart and strategically. I then reload, I then go in and try and add a few more shots into the enemy, and as you can see, yet again I'm strafing over to the left taking cover, and this keeps me still in full control because the enemy still doesn't have any cover and I do have the option to take cover whereas the enemy doesn't. So at this point I feel like I've landed enough bullets into the enemy to go for the push. I know they haven't got any shield and I know it's probably going to take about 1 or 2 bullets to actually kill the enemy. So in this instance I'll then go into the building and I get the easiest kill I could possibly get, and probably the easiest win as well. When it comes to pushing opponents after dealing damage into them, you have to make sure you're doing it fairly quickly. So when it comes to their medium range engagements, you want to make sure you're actually pushing the opponent quickly enough to the point where they don't heal up before you actually get there. And as you guys can see on screen, I'm going to show you an example of when I was actually doing it wrongly. It's pointless to me showing you all of the good clips. I'm going to show you guys how not to do it. As you can see, I've dealt quite a bit of damage into the enemy. I then go for the push, but there's another enemy that's shooting at me, which sort of delays the time of me actually being able to push the enemy. So in this situation, I should have stayed outside the building because I didn't want to risk it, and I knew the time was quite long, so the enemy could have healed up before I went into the building. But stupidly, I carried on running into the building and I've just tried to look for the gunfight, and by the time I got into the building, the enemy had full health and I basically couldn't do anything about it. And this is how not to push opponents. If you feel like there's a great distance between you and the enemy and you're not going to get there within enough time, then I would suggest waiting until a better opportunity. Remember how we're talking about maintaining control, and if you feel like going for the push is actually going to lose you that crucial control that you have, then I'd suggest actually waiting, being patient, and wait for a better opportunity to then push the enemy. So anyway guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I'm thinking about doing like a part 2 to how to control gunfights, how to maintain in control, because there's so much more I want to talk to you guys about, so many more examples that I can't unfortunately do all in one video. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up here guys. If you did enjoy this video, be sure you're dropping a like down below and also commenting if you want to be featured in my next Apex Legends video. Thank you all for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch all of you guys out in another video on the channel. Take care guys.